All right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, before we dive to this class session, oh, I didn't. Oh, damn. Sloppy. All right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, before we dive to this class session, giving all honor, no glory, no infinite praise is due to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Kakadash. Dubon's great millstone at the apostles who teach them well. Peace, salutations to those for elected scattered abroad like the other nations. Shalom, Shalom. And the Shalom to the sincere Akim that's out there laboring and going out there on the four winds of this planet, teaching this true gospel, teaching the 100% truth. Keep doing so to those that may be. And the Shalom to the sincere Aquafium that's out there reverencing their husbands, being in a pillar of rest. Keep doing so to those that may be. Okay? Yahweh as being the Heavenly Father, which the word ignorantly calls God, which his name means in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. He exists. He's the Ancient of Days. By Hashem meaning the name of. Yahweh Shai being the only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father, which the word ignorantly called Jesus the Christ, which his name means in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. He's the deliverer. Who is he the deliverer for? For the children of Israel only. And the Rakakadash being the Holy Spirit. Okay, so today's class lesson is basically going over Daniel the 8th chapter and basically getting the understanding of the abomination of desolation and when the temple was first defiled, okay? And basically we just gonna go through this and go through history because you need the history to understand what is being talked about in Daniel the 8th chapter, because the scriptures do talk in dark parables and dark sayings. Okay, that's why Yahweh Shai said, blessed are your eyes and blessed are your ears for they see and they hear. Okay, because only the elect is going to understand what is being written and what is being told here. Okay, so whoever got Daniel the 8th chapter, you go ahead with the first verse.
This is Daniel chapter 8, starting with the first verse. It says, in the third year of the reign of King Belteshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan, in the place which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Uriah. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had two horns, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last.
Right. So what it is talking about with the ram right here is talking about is representing the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay, and when it says one was higher than the other, it's talking about the Persians, because the Persians became greater than the Medes. Okay, so when you go into the book of Daniel, I'll keep using the mouse, the 7th chapter in verse 5, that right there is the same beast right there, but it's called a ram in the 8th chapter. You go ahead, brother.
Go ahead.
No, brother, right.
7:5, right?
Daniel 7 and 5.
Daniel 7:5, and it says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh.
Right. Right here is the same beast. It's the same thing as the ram. Okay, but here it's referenced as the bear. Okay, it's the Medo-Persian Empire, and when it says it raised itself on one side, once again, when you go back into and put this up here, Daniel the 8th chapter, and when it says, I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. It's the same thing right here. Basically, the Persians overcame the Medes, okay? And the 3 ribs is basically, do brothers know what the 3 ribs stand for? 3 ribs basically represent different empires, okay, or different countries that the Medes the Persians took over. Okay, and basically what those empires are, it's the Babylon, or known as Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Lydia. Okay, those are the three real Lydia. Okay, those are the three ribs that the bear had in his mouth because it had overcame them and took them over. Okay, it conquered them. And basically, when it says in his mouth of it, between the teeth of it, they said, thus unto it arise, devour much flesh, meaning the kingdom was very vast. So that's why they was able to conquer. Okay, but when you continue to read in Daniel the 8th chapter, go ahead and go to verse 4.
Yeah, verse 4. And I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great.
Right. So this right here, it is talking about, hold on, let me get to it. It's basically talking about the Medo-Persian Empire was strong at this time. So nobody can basically overcome the Medo-Persian Empire because they were strong. But until another beast came, which you continue on, verse 5.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, and he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a noble horn between his eyes.
Right. And this he-goat is basically talking about Alexander the Greek. Okay. That is that he-goat mentioning right here. This is the next empire to take over the Medo-Persian Empire. Took over, basically took them out of power. Okay. Because when you go into the scriptures, this is basically prophecy playing out. Daniel the 7th chapter, the 4 kingdoms. This is now the time of the Greek Empire to come into play. Okay. So you can go back to that Daniel the 7th chapter, and now you can read verse 6.
Verse 6, it says, After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Right. And now this is the Greek Empire. Okay. And now we're going to go back to the Daniel the 8th chapter. Okay. It says, and that he-goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Okay. Now you can go ahead and read 1 Maccabees, verse 1.
Book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1. It reads, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Right. So this was the first king over Greece, Alexander the Greek. Okay. Keep going, brother.
And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth.
Right. This is basically Alexander the Greek. He is conquering these different kingdoms. Okay. We can continue on, brother.
Verse 3. And went through the ends of the earth and took spoil of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him.
Right. Now you can stop right there. Like I said, we're gonna try to tie this in together. Okay. Now brother, you can go ahead back in that Daniel 8. You left off at verse 6. Yep, come.
Daniel 8 and 6. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
Right, and that ram once again is the Medo-Persian Empire, okay, set across the river, okay. But eventually Alexander the Greek came over across the river and conquered the Medo-Persians. Okay, continue in verse 7.
Verse 7. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with the collier against him, and smote the ram and broke his 2 horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him. but he cast him down to the ground and stomped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Basically saying he took the Medo-Persians out of the power. Okay, now this is the time for the Greek Empire to rule. Because now when you go back to the book of First Maccabees and you read verse 1, and it says, and it happened after Alexander the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, and smitten Darius the king of the Persians and the Medes, that is the ram. Okay. And it says that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So this is right here is the explanation of what's going on in Daniel the 8th chapter verse 7, because this is Alexander the Greek taking out the Medo-Persians. Okay, now Alexander the Greek didn't kill Darius. It was one of Darius's own men that killed him. Okay, so basically he got murdered by his own men, because basically the history behind it, Darius, the King Darius, basically thought that the Alexander the Greek wasn't going to cross the river, but eventually he did and conquered him, and basically one of his own men just took him out and stuff like that. Continue on, brother. Verse 8, Daniel 8.
Yeah, Daniel 8 and 8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up for notable ones toward the four winds of heaven.
Right, now start right there. Now, Brother Dwight, you're going to pick back up at, where was you at? Verse 4?
104.
Con, you're going to continue right there.
5 actually.
Con.
It says, and after these things he fell sick and perceived he should die. Wherefore he called his servants such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
Right. So now when you go back to Daniel the 8th chapter, and you read when it said, therefore the he-goat was waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. Okay, now when you go back, and it says in verse 5, and after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. This is that notable horn being broken. Okay, this is basically Alexander basically falling sick in Daniel the 8th chapter in verse 8. So basically this is Alexander getting sick, and now he's been to part his kingdom in 4. Okay, now do brothers know who the 4 notable ones are? Con, you got the first 3 is consent. Any brother want to go? Con. Brother had 3. You got the last one. So it's the 4 notable ones that Alexander split his kingdom with is Cassander, Ptolemy, Lemniscus, and Seleucus. Okay, and they was known as the Diadochi. Basically, what that word means. Forgot what it means. I looked it up yesterday, but I think it's like conquerors or something like that. Then it's basically, this is who Alexander split his kingdom with and divided his kingdom with. He divided the kingdom with the 4 generals, okay? Which these 4 names, like Cassander and Ptolemy and Lemniscus and Seleucus, these are like titles. Just like Darius is a title. Like Darius, King Darius, that's like a title. Yeah. Seleucus is a title because, you know, you had certain Seleucian kings, Ptolemy kings, they call themselves that. Okay.
What was the 3 kings that I think it was? You said the bear represents
the Medo-Persian.
Okay, so the bear represents the Medo-Persian. So you said like the 3 ribs that was in his mouth was Babylon, Egypt, and what's the last 3 again?
Lydia.
Mm-hmm. Or Libya.
Lydia. That's how I remember it. Lydia, and basically that's the 3 kingdoms that they had. And basically when Alexander took over, he put them down. Basically those kingdoms was added to him. So basically that's why Alexander was able to have such a great kingdom, because he conquered the Medo-Persians, and then the kingdom he had within. What the King Darius had is basically just added to Alexander, basically. So that's why Alexander was such a great conqueror. Okay. But then when he fell sick, he split it with his 4 generals, and then we're gonna continue to read on, and then we're gonna get into the wicked root. Okay. That's it on that. Now go ahead and continue back in that Daniel 8, verse 9.
And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land.
Right, and this little horn right here is not talking about America. It's actually talking about Antiochus, the Epiphanes, and also Antiochus is a title too. Okay, it's not his actual name, but it's just a title. Just like once again, like Darius is just a title, and Antiochus is a title as well. Then this is Antiochus the 4th Epiphanes, okay, which is that little horn, okay, which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. That pleasant land is basically where the Israelites was dwelling in, okay. Go ahead to verse 10.
Daniel 8:10. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stopped upon them.
Right. Now you're gonna start right there. Who I tell get Revelations 12 and verse 1. Go ahead and get that one. And this is basically we finna get the understanding of who the stars. Let me read that again. The stars of the ground, who that's talking about. Go ahead, brother.
Now this is the book of Revelations, chapter 12 and verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
Right. Now, brother Tazwan, go ahead and get Genesis 37 and 9.
This is Genesis chapter 37, verse 9, and it reads, And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made
Obeisance.
obeisance to me.
Right. So this is basically Joseph saying that the 11 stars, let me basically break this down properly. So the 11 stars basically represent the tribes of Israel, basically. Okay. Joseph being his sons being Manasseh and Ephraim being added to that. Okay. So basically what this is talking about when it says the stars right here in Daniel the 8th chapter being stamped on the ground is basically the Israelites being in captivity. Okay. Because when you go back to Revelation 12 and 1, and it says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman, which that woman supposed to represent Israel, clothed with the sun, which supposed to represent Jacob, and the moon supposed to represent Rebecca, and under her feet, upon her head, crown of 12 stars, which supposed to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, and then when you read in verse 3, verse 4, Salakia, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. They cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered for the devour her child soon as it was born. There's the third part of stars supposed to represent the southern kingdom, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Okay, they was in the Roman Empire. Meanwhile, you had the northern kingdom or the other side of the world. Okay, so that's basically just for edification's sake for those that want to know what the stars are talking about. But once again, to know who the stars are that's getting stumped to the ground, basically Israelites that's in captivity under this wicked ass Edomite Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay, let's see on them. Daniel the 8th chapter, verse 11.
Right, Daniel 8 and 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down.
Mm-hmm.
And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. And it cast down the truth to the ground. And it practiced it and prospered.
Right. So now you're gonna stop right there. Now, brother, but why you're gonna pick back up in verse 9.
8, 9.
First Maccabees, Salak.
First Maccabees 1 and 9. Now, I was at
Just jump down to it.
9.
Kind.
So then after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years. Evils multiplied on earth, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days there went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them we had much sorrow. But this device pleased him well. Then certain of the people were so for herein that they went to the king who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold into mystery. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude of chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoil thereof. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof.
Right, and this is basically the abomination of desolation. Okay, when the temple was defiled. Okay, Antiochus is basically the abomination of desolation. Okay, because usually only ones that had access into the temple was who? The Levites. The Levites had access. So usually if someone walks into the temple, what's supposed to happen to them? They supposed to be put to death. Okay? You was gonna say something? So people might be like, why didn't Antiochus get put to death on the site? Well, it was for prophecy's sake. Okay? That's why he wasn't killed right then and there. But at the same time, this is the abomination of desolation when he walked in the temple and basically took all the golden altar, the candlesticks, and sacrificed fucking swine's flesh on the altar and everything. That's basically the abomination of desolation, because there was abominable things being sacrificed and abominable things happening, because the Edomites by nature are what? Vile people. Okay? So it's like when something vile goes into something holy, it now becomes defiled. Okay? So that's basically when it says in Daniel the 8th chapter verse 12, and it says, and the host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and he casted down the truth. Well, verse 11, so he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. By him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Basically the temple being cast down. Okay, him being Antiochus being the abomination of desolation. Okay, so that's it on that first Maccabees. Now you continue on that Daniel 8. What was it, verse 13? Kind of, go ahead, brother.
Daniel 8 and 13, it says, Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation,
Mm-hmm.
to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot?
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed.
And basically, the 2,300 days is basically over 6 years. Antiochus was in power, and basically 9 years he was 9 years defiling the temple. Okay, that's basically what it's going into. So he defiled the temple. Well, he was in power for 6 years, and he defiled the temple for 9 years. Okay. Go ahead, verse 15.
Verse 15, Daniel 8 and 15. And it came to pass when I Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Uriah, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision.
And now the archangel Gabriel is basically finna explain to him this vision. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Daniel 8 and 17. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. And he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be division. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But he touched me and set me upright. And verse 19, and he said, Behold, I will make thee know that what shall be in the last end of the indignation,
Mm-hmm.
for at the time appointed the end shall be. Verse 20, the ram which thou sawest having 2 horns of the kings of the Persia,
Mm-hmm.
and the rough goat is the king of Grisha, and the great horn that is between the eyes is the first king.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, the kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in its power.
Mm-hmm.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understand dark senses shall stand up.
And that king that is right here is mentioning is Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay. Continue, brother.
Daniel 8:24. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
Right. And now when it says, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, basically Antiochus didn't do it all by himself. He had sent in mercenaries to basically take over and stuff like that. So when you go into the book of Maccabees, the 6th chapter, I'm going to read it, 6th chapter and verse 28. 28 and 29, and it says, Now the king heard this, and he was angry, and gathered together all his friends and the captains of his army, and those that had charge of the horse. There came also unto him from other kingdoms and from the isles of the sea bands of hired soldiers, those mercenaries, okay, that he sent upon Israel, okay. So that's why it says not by his own power, okay, because he used mercenaries, okay. Now you can go ahead and continue on that day, the 8th chapter, and we'll wrap it up once we get there.
Daniel 8:25. And through his policy also he shall cause the craft to prosper in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princesses, but he shall be broken without hand.
Right. And you know, you can apply this towards this devil today, Esau, Edom, but this is mainly talking about Antiochus, okay, because he was implementing new laws and stuff like that, telling the Israelites, just depart from your laws and follow mine and be wicked and be abominable, okay? Because that was basically this devil issue. He wanted everybody to be just like him. Just why the scriptures say he would want all people to be one people, to be just like him, low level, vile, all that. So that's why, like, our people, the Israelites back then, in the time of the Maccabees, were getting in trouble for practicing the Sabbath, circumcising their children. Okay, this devil wanted us to be vile just like them, because these people, these damn devils don't circumcise themselves. No, none of that. They eat swine's flesh. They jump off mountains and all that. You know, we not like them. But this is what this devil wanted us to be. He wanted us to be just like him, okay? Which we'll never be like you devils, because we are two different people. Genesis 25 and 25. There are two matter of people, two different nations within thy womb, okay? We'll never be like you devils, okay? We'll never be vile as y'all, okay? Because the spirit always going to lead to get on you devils regardless. But this is just a history lesson going into the abomination of desolation, when the temple was ransacked, or basically stuff like that. Okay, and I can read the last two verses. It says, "In the vision of the evening, in the morning was told, it is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision? It shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. After I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it." Okay, so this is basically the vision that Daniel saw in Daniel the 8th chapter, okay, because you can link this up with Daniel the 7th chapter, and you can link this up with the first Maccabees, okay, and the second Maccabees, which I recommend Akim and your sincere Akwathi read the book of Maccabees, because that's how you would get your understanding of what the abomination of desolation is.
You look like the Revelation 12.
Kind of got you, brother.
So,
let me get that real quick.
where it say the sun and the moon, so you said Rebecca, so is that really Rachel?
Yeah, what was the, yeah, I meant to say Rachel. That's what I meant to say, Salakia. I get them confused, but it was Rachel that was supposed to represent the moon, and the sun supposed to represent Jacob. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I read it again?
Go ahead, bro.
Revelation 12:1. There appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Like, how do you connect that to Genesis?
Because basically, the 11 stars, you got the 11 sons. Go ahead.
Go back to it. The next verse explains the Genesis.
Okay, let me go back to it.
Jacob basically broke it down.
Salakia. That's a good question, though, bro.
Can I read it?
Go ahead, bro.
So, Genesis 37:10, and he told it to his father and his brethren. His father rebuked him and said unto him, "What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and my mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down to ourselves to thee to the earth?" And his brethren envied him. But his father observed the same, and his brother went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. Right.
So yeah, that's basically Jacob breaking it down, because he understood what it was saying. That's why he said, "Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren," because he had 11 brothers.
Right.
before him and stuff like that. So that's basically the 11 stars. Okay, then when you link that up with Revelations, the 12th chapter, the 12 stars, it's basically just going, it's basically just hand to hand because it's referencing the 12 stars in that scripture. But
the moon and the sun is still Jacob and Rachel. Right?
yeah, their mother, the father and the mother, Jacob and Rachel. Yep, kind of. Brother got any precepts?
Good.
Kind. So that's been this lesson of basically of the understanding the abomination of desolation. Okay. Lord willing, you Aki and Akwati have been well fed with this lesson. And with that, we're going to give all praise and all glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakadash. Till next time, till next video, Shalom from Sharala, by the Bar.
Wow.